Yes, this is a review of the Lexus ES 300h F Sport, but it's also a little bit of an adventure. Here's why. While it seems that automakers have abandoned sedans, there are plenty to choose from. Want something roomy, comfortable, stylish, and premium? Well, Lexus has you covered with the ES, the 7th generation, if you can believe that. You can get the same room and powertrains in sister Toyota Avalon, at least for now, but the more pedigreed Lexus is the looker of the family. This 300h, a hybrid if the blue accents don't tip you off, now gets the F-Sport treatment. That means a meshed spindle grille with smoked trim, low-profile tires on 19 inches, and some interior changes, like a thicker place for your hands, more stylish spots for your feet, and Hidori aluminum trim. A different gauge cluster treatment, too. Jumping to light speed. On the 300h, the F-Sport package is largely cosmetic. The suspension has been tweaked a bit, but if you want true F-Sport performance like V6 power and an adaptive sport-tuned suspension, you're going to want to go with the ES 350. Also, the hybrid, not available with all-wheel drive, which could have been handy this week. Here's why. The ES 300h was dropped off after Seattle got 6 inches of snow, and there's the usual icy base that's typical in the Pacific Northwest. All-wheel drive helps in some cases, but not all. One thing I can tell you for certain about the ES 300h F Sport, it's terrible in the snow. Obviously, Seattle had a freak snowstorm, and most of its time was spent here in my neighbor's driveway because, see this hill here? It can only make it up this far. And my neighbor was gracious enough to let me just keep it here for like 5 days. It wouldn't get up to my house, which is up there by that green Chevy Volt, if you can see it. It just wouldn't make it. I grew up in Minnesota. I think I have those driving chops down. No matter what I did, tried 5 or 6 times to get it up the hill, the traction control denied me. Now, obviously, it's probably the tires. Remember, those are really, really important. But if you live in this kind of climate and you're thinking about getting an ES, go with the all-wheel drive. Only the ES 250 gets the option of all 4 wheels driven, and with a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, it has less power. And yes, even 250 can be had in F-Sport trim. One thing I can do while the car's just sitting here, show you the trunk. Obviously, I am not going to Costco this time. That is not happening. There's a decent amount of space in the boot at 13.9 cubic feet. All 5 passengers could throw in carry-on luggage and a small personal item without issue and fly to Cabo where it's warmer. So happy that there's a spare tire. I've had issue with run flats. There's a small pass-through, good for sliding in 1, maybe 2 pair of skis, but the seat back is fixed. That could be problematic. Eventually, I need to get this out of the driveway. I can't overstay my welcome. And I know that trying to head up the hill is a losing battle, but a guy's got to try. As I figured, pretty much worthless. Gonna back down the hill. There's the argument that I should just leave it parked, but I know getting to the bottom means clearer arterials. And if you're wondering, our Chevy got up and down the hill, but had to use some Duluth-grade driving skills. Let's look at the 300h Powertrain. It starts with a 2.5-liter inline-4 paired with a permanent magnet electric drive motor. Total system power is 215 horsepower. Lexus doesn't provide torque figures for its hybrids. Generally, the engine doesn't fire up. The Purple Rain light show is there to entertain. In cold temperatures like this, around freezing, it fires up more often. The EV mode is good for traveling very short distances silently if the battery is well charged. And I'd like to thank Lexus for this excellent controller. The transmission is an electronic continuously variable unit with simulated manual shifts, yes, even up here, at least on the F-Sport. There are drive modes, but in these conditions, I can't really tell you the difference they make other than Eco seems to do better on snow, and traction control can be turned off. Doesn't seem like all the way, though. Let's drive carefully. Yes, this does have F-Sport badges, but it's not exactly a performance machine. 0 to 60 in about 8.5 seconds. Not that I can show you. There are some serious traction issues today. I am not going to be going up any hills. That is for sure. Let's focus on what the ES does really well. It's quiet, even with what has to be a slightly firmer F-Sport suspension, with cold, low-profile tires pounding over uneven icy chunks. And the hybrid powertrain is seamless. Traction may not be so great, but fuel economy is awesome. The EPA rates the average of this at 44 miles per gallon. That's the beauty of hybrid powertrains. And you gotta remember, this is a fairly roomy luxury sedan. There's also an excellent suite of active electronic safety tech dubbed Lexus Safety System Plus 2.5. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but the adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, automatic emergency braking, blind spot warning, and rear cross traffic alert that come in the package are very good if they're anything like what's in the NX crossover I've driven. Wish I could tell you how this handles, but there is no way that I'm going to be taking corners at speed because it's just too icy. Lexus has improved its driving dynamics over the years. They're applying something called Lexus Driving Signature to all their vehicles to elevate and standardize their driving dynamics. And yeah, they have improved. This is a lot firmer than you might imagine from an ES. It's not soft and floaty. It's actually a little bit firmer than you might imagine. ES, even with the hybrid's F-Sport badging, is not aimed at true enthusiasts. Still, the days of soft and floaty ride qualities have been over for a while with this brand. As long as I'm in slippery conditions, may as well check out the anti-lock brakes. Straight and true. We all forget how awesome anti-lock brakes are. Now to get going, this is a slight upgrade. Kind of expected that. I guess I'll just back on down the hill. Pricing starts at $46,500. Optioned up, this one's $51,000. Now, given that most ESs will be optioned towards luxury, the interior is edgier than expected. Screens and controls are placed in what Lexus calls a seat-in-control arrangement, meaning everything the driver needs is easily within reach. You want buttons? ES has more than I've seen in a long time. Materials are quite nice, with a few Toyota-grade plastics mostly out of sight, and this aluminum trim stopping near the display looks unfinished to my eye. A panoramic roof is reserved for the V6-equipped 350 models. Curious. Lexus has a new interface, but it's not in the ES. Using the touchscreen with the menu below, it's just fine, though I didn't find an obvious home button on the display, had to go down here for that. And yes, this is the Lexus trackpad. That's just as wonky as I remember. So stick to the screen and life will be Lexus-y. As expected, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are along for the ride, but not wireless, and these USB ports are not in an elegant spot for cord management. And yes, that is a CD player there. Don't forget, they sound great. The standard sound system is good. I find the bass kind of boomy. The console that's easily accessible to everyone up front has a Qi charging pad in it. The glove box is pretty small if that's your thing. I like this cup holder, works for short beverages, but deep enough to keep really tall drinks from dumping on your lap. I have no gripes with the heated and vented seats. The material is new luxe, and if black is too boring, circuit red and white are available. Evil Twin is not coming out in this weather. At 5'9", I have a little more than an inch of head clearance. Knee, leg, and foot room are pretty generous, though, and the center spine isn't too intrusive. Haven't needed this in my time with the ES. You in the Sunbelt should like it. There's storage, more storage, and power for phone charging. No separate climate zone or heated seats. The cushions are high enough for good thigh support. 3 adults can travel back here as long as they're not overly tall. Time to sum this up with red light, green light. Green light. All the Lexus attributes. It's comfy, hushed, there are controlled driving dynamics, plus the promise of reliability. The hybrid's outstanding fuel economy on standard grade gas. Luxury marques normally require premium. The design, inside and out, is more edgy than ES would have been in the past. Yellow lights? I like the F-Sport cosmetic package. It deserves more power and an even sharper suspension. Use the touchscreen and loads of hard buttons, and the ES is easy to control. That touchpad will be gone in Generation 8. The interior is roomy, but have your tallest friend check out the back seat. Red light. The fixed seat backs keep the ES from being more flexible. All-wheel drive is only available for the powertrain with the least amount of oomph. And did I mention this doesn't do well in winter conditions? Nothing that tires wouldn't help. Lexus says that F-Sport trim has attracted younger and more diverse buyers to ES, so I get why it's been applied to the 300h. The armchair marketing manager in me wonders if the lack of extra power dilutes the impact of the overall F-Sport image. No doubt, I can see the appeal of the ES. Yeah, I've been very critical about the traction. It's really not very good, but the ES is good looking, it's quiet, it's comfortable with the hybrid powertrain. It's really fuel efficient, so if you're looking at a luxury sedan, you should really take a look, especially if you live in Arizona. Even on dry roads, acceleration won't pin drivers against the seat. But for a sporty-ish luxury sedan with terrific fuel economy, the ES300h F-Sport has the Lexus polish down cold. To beat a dead horse. Conditions were dreadful. Seattle doesn't get dumped on that often, so keeping a large snow removal fleet doesn't make sense. We rely on the solar method, and we don't get much sun. How icy was it? Martin and I got stuck on a very slight downgrade. We were using this large island to U-turn, and though I turned left, the car drifted right because of a 1 or 2% grade. Yeah, the ice was that slick. To keep from sliding down the hill into other cars, I maneuvered the Lexus against the curb. Martin walked to the grocery store for cat litter. I brainstormed other ways to get it out. And watched this Amazon driver try to get up the hill. In vain. I shot all this with my iPhone because my camera tripod slid down the hill if I wasn't with it. Eventually, I dug up some dirt and leaves from someone's landscaping and spread it around for traction. 2 guys showed up and gave me a push. Thanks, you guys. It worked. Didn't have time to get a shot of them, but thanks, guys. Ended up picking up Martin a mile away. I kept the litter for the rest of the shoot. That's our adventure, and because the weather was so cold, my slider didn't work, so no fancy moving shots. Keeping the car clean was nearly impossible. I take my photography seriously. This is the worst shot video I've done in a long time. This is the end where I normally give a fun fact, but this time it's a word of gratitude for Martin Campbell, who always drives, but this time I think you deserve hazardous duty pay, man.
Yeah, just word for the wise. Don't drive a car with summer tires in the wintertime.
It's terrible. Drive to conditions, okay? And remember to subscribe to this channel, okay? All right. If for nothing else, adventure. That's driven. I'm Tom Voelk. I'll remind you that I've got a quote service, and if you use it, it benefits my channel. Full disclosure there. But use mine use somebody else's. I really don't care. Just use one of them to get the best price that you can. It's really hard to shop for a vehicle these days. So, one more tip. There are some dealers that don't add the dealer markup, so look for them. You know, they are out there. You don't have to spend $5,000 or $10,000 over sticker price. Just walk away. You have the power.